Welcome to today's Explainer. Okay, so we're diving into a story today that honestly sounds like pure fiction, but I promise you it's 100% real. We're going to look at how a completely bizarre, totally satirical online joke somehow morphed into a massive political earthquake in the world's largest democracy. Yep, we're talking about the wild phenomenon of the Cockroach Janata Party, or the CJP for short.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. We'll start with the spark that set it all off. Then look at the fuel, the underlying economic issues. After that, we'll dive into digital resistance, how the state struck back, past movements that echo this one, and finally, 3 possible futures for the CJP. Let's get right into it. To really grasp the sheer scale of this disruption, just look at the numbers. You've got the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, literally the largest political party in the entire world, sitting at around 9 million Instagram followers. And then you have the Cockroach Janata Party. This is an unregistered, completely satirical party that was invented pretty much overnight. And in just a matter of days, it blasted past 20 million followers. I mean, how on earth does an internet meme totally eclipse a massive political machine like that?
Well, it all starts with the spark, a moment of elite rhetoric that acted as the inciting incident.
So back on May 15, 2026, during a Supreme Court hearing about fraudulent credentials, Chief Justice Surya Kant said something that completely blew up. He stated, there are youngsters like cockroaches who don't get any employment and they start attacking everyone. Now, he did clarify later that he was only talking about people with fake degrees, but you know how the internet works. That context was instantly stripped away. For millions of frustrated, unemployed young people, this felt like a massive, deeply humiliating insult from the establishment. It basically compressed an entire generation's real-world struggle into a single, dismissive insect metaphor.
And man, the reaction was blindingly fast. Literally the very next day, Abhijit Dipka, who's a 30-year-old PR student sitting in a dorm room in Boston, just asked a simple question online. What if all the cockroaches actually came together? He used some AI tools to throw up a website in record time, and boom, the CJP was launched. By May 21st, they had 15 million followers. The day after that, over 20 million. But here's the thing, viral fame like this, it never happens in a vacuum.
That brings us to the fuel behind the fire. A massive population that is highly educated, but tragically unemployed.
Because let's be absolutely clear here, this movement is not just a bunch of internet trolls having a laugh. As of March 2026, India's youth unemployment rate hit 15.2%. That number validates the very real, very deep frustration that is actually driving the CJP. We're talking about millions of young people who did exactly what society asked of them. They studied, they got the grades, and then they found the doors totally locked when they tried to enter the workforce.
And you can really see how systemic this bottleneck is when you break the numbers down. The general unemployment rate was hovering right around 3.1%, but the graduate unemployment rate, that reached a staggering 11.2%. So think about that. If you are a highly educated young person in India today, you are literally more than 3 times as likely to be unemployed. It's wild.
And honestly, the reality on the ground is even grimmer. You have over 1 million youth entering the labor force every single month. But real wages in the informal sector, they've basically flatlined since 2015. Even crazier, the average monthly salary for a college graduate actually dropped from around 30,000 rupees back in 2011 to roughly 28,000 rupees recently. Add in some crushing inflation and a hyper-exploitative gig economy, and today's youth are effectively making less than their parents' generation, with absolutely zero job security. Most are either forced into self-employment or take casual labor jobs just to scrape by. Now combine all of those brutal economic realities with a massive scandal like the NEET Eugene medical exam paper leak, which ended up affecting over 2 million student candidates. Scandals like this completely shatter the whole illusion of meritocracy. I mean, it sends a crystal clear message, right? Hard work doesn't matter at all if institutional corruption can just buy a way past you. This created the absolute perfect storm of anger for the CJP to top into.
Which leads us to digital resistance and how memes became a legitimate tool of protest.
You know, usually people throw around the word slacktivism as an insult, but the CJP, they actually weaponized this low-barrier type of engagement. To join the movement, you didn't need to go out and march in the streets or anything. All you had to do was fill out a quick Google form, drop a cockroach emoji in your bio, or share a meme with the hashtag #MainBeCockroach, which means I too am a cockroach. By taking this massive insult and flipping it into a badge of honor, they rapidly built this incredibly unified digital community out of millions of isolated, frustrated people.
But okay, here is where the whole thing gets super fascinating. Right beneath all the absurd AI-generated cockroach suits and the meme slogans, the CJP dropped a highly serious, super-structured political manifesto. They weren't just joking around. They demanded an end to post-retirement political rewards for judges. They wanted to criminalize the deletion of legitimate votes. They called for a 50% women's reservation in parliament, the breakup of massive corporate media monopolies, and a strict 20-year ban for any politician who defects from their party. So clearly, this isn't just a joke, right? It's a highly articulate critique of modern democratic failings, perfectly packaged in a viral format.
And as you might expect, the state struck back. Let's look at the clash between authority and public dissent.
The establishment's response was, well, immediate and aggressive. The CJP's official account on X was suddenly withheld in India. Their massive Instagram pages were hacked, and their website got completely taken down. The founder, Abhijit Dipke, even shared screenshots showing some really chilling death threats he received on WhatsApp. This incredibly swift, heavy-handed deployment of censorship tells us a lot. It reveals a deep, palpable anxiety among those in power. They're genuinely terrified of the sheer force of meme-driven mobilization.
So we have to ask, what happens when digital energy meets reality? Let's look at the ghosts of movements past. Because this definitely isn't the first time we've seen this specific kind of energy. Think back to 2011 with the Anna Hazare anti-corruption movement. Millions of people leveraged the internet and took to the streets because of just immense public outrage. And that movement successfully translated its grassroots energy into a very real political entity, the Aam Aadmi Party, or AAP. Fun fact, Abhijit Dipke actually volunteered for AAP's social media team back in the day. So 2011 proved that anti-establishment frustration absolutely can give birth to real political structures. But it also offers a pretty major cautionary tale.
And this brings up a really profound philosophical point. Scholars like Dr. Israr Ahmed have argued that participating in existing, deeply flawed political structures often just dilutes a movement. It's the old saying, right? If you go inside the system changes you. We totally saw this happen with AP, where a lot of the original founding idealists ended up getting pushed out as the party became more and more institutionalized. The CJP is staring down that exact same philosophical dilemma today.
So, what are the three possible futures here? Where does the cockroach actually go from here?
If we look at the trajectory of past movements, we can pretty much segment the CJP's future into three distinct scenarios. Scenario 1 is meme collapse. The joke just gets old, and without any real-world leadership to anchor it, the energy just fizzles out. Scenario 2 is mainstream co-optation. This is where established opposition parties swoop in, absorb the movement's energy for their own political gain, and basically ignore the youth's actual demands. And then there's Scenario 3, genuine institutionalization. This is by far the hardest path. It means the CJP actually has to move offline, build local structures from the ground up, and contest real elections.
Ultimately, the whole Cockroach Janata Party phenomenon forces us to ask some pretty massive questions about the future of global politics. Is modern democracy becoming increasingly vulnerable to meme-driven mobilization? It really suggests that severe economic frustration, much more than traditional political ideology, is fast becoming the primary driver of youth politics worldwide. When the system completely fails to provide jobs or a future, the youth aren't just going to sit there, they'll build their own digital systems to fight back.
But as history has shown us time and time again, viral popularity, while incredibly powerful, is tricky. A like on Instagram does not automatically translate into a structured vote at the ballot box. Bridging that huge gap between a trending hashtag and a fully functioning, on-the-ground political apparatus, that is a monumental task.
So the core lesson we really need to walk away with today is this. The CJP is not just a joke. It is a severe, glaring warning light on the dashboard of the world's largest democracy. It holds up a mirror to a political and economic system that has fundamentally failed to address educated unemployment, stagnant wages, and just incredibly deep political distrust. It proves that when millions of people feel completely alienated, all it takes is a single spark, even just an accidental, poorly phrased insult, to ignite an absolute digital wildfire.
I'm going to leave you with this thought to mull over. If the establishment continues to dismiss the youth as mere pests and totally fails to fix these deep economic fractures, what happens next time? Will the next big youth rebellion stay safely confined to memes and digital satire on our phones? Or is it going to spill over into something much, much larger in the real world? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.